Julia is conducting a KYC interview with Mr. Ma. Julia is determined that it's going to be a positive experience.
Hi there, Mr. Ma. Thanks for coming in.
Well, I hope this is worthwhile. It's taken me 40 minutes to get here. This is one of the sessions where you're going to be asking me all about my life history and what my favorite color is it? I don't know why you ask for this information. Other banks don't.
No, Mr. Ma. It's nothing like that. Look, I know that you've probably got a lot on today, and I promise you that I'll get this done as quickly as possible. Actually, all banks are required to do this. So if they're saying they're not, then probably they're being less than honest. So it is quite straightforward. It is not like an interrogation session or anything like that. Equally though, there will be a few things which is quite detailed that I might need to ask you to follow up in terms of information or documentation relating to what we discuss. But I can assure you that once we've got this done, you'll be able to enjoy the full flavor of our bank. We'll be able to serve you better, we'll be able to protect you and your assets more effectively, and generally provide you with the service that we're renowned for. So, Mr. Ma, are you ready for this?
I guess so.
Good.
Julia seems to be off to a good start, and the customer seems to be responding well to her positive attitude. She now has a chance to put her theories about KYC communication into practice.
To me, you have to get the interaction away from one in which the customer feels that you're extracting information from them, like some kind of government employee with a form in front of you, and over towards one which is more of a conversation with the customer about the customer. I mean, most people like talking about themselves, right? They don't feel they get to talk about themselves enough. Some people even pay other people, therapists and counselors and so on, to listen to them talk about themselves, yeah? You have to realize that it's not, in fact, an unnatural thing that you're asking people to do, to tell you about themselves. You're just doing it, of course, within the KYC's framework. So when we first met, I took some initial details and documentation from you about your full name, address, phone, and contact details, etc., etc. Are there any changes to any of those since then?
No, all the same.
Okay, great. So tell me about yourself. What line of business are you in and where do you work?
Julia uses body language, putting her pen down, adopting an open body position, and nodding and smiling as she listens, to signify to the customer that she's fully engaged with what he's telling her.
It was difficult to start with, but in the last year or to 18 months, my business has improved significantly.
Good. So business consulting is a huge space. Tell me more about your business. Do you have a specific area that you're involved in? Do you have an area of expertise? What sectors are you in and what kind of clients do you have?
Well, we deal with all sorts really, big and small, significant, tactical consulting. The key thing is to give our customers, all our customers, excellent customer service. You know, that's the main thing.
Sometimes customers just don't want to answer the question. Sometimes that's accidental, and sometimes you get the sense that it's deliberate. Whatever the reason, you have to be persistent and get the answers, because that might be an important piece of information that determines how the account is going to be managed, what the risk rating is, what approval levels will be required, etc., etc.
Not satisfied with the answer she's getting to her questions, Julia tries another tack.
Okay, let's break this down for me so that I can understand it. Who is your single biggest customer?
I'm sorry?
Your single biggest customer, who will that be?
Oh, I see. That will be my previous employer, PDS.
PDS?
Picardy Defence Systems. I worked for them for 7 years after I left the Navy.
Right. So your former employer became your new customer when you set the business up?
That's right. It's often the way, as you know. So apart from the general strategy and managing consulting that I do for them, an important part of my business is to act as a sales agent for them, using my contacts in the Navy and other services. introducing their decision makers to Bacardi's new and forthcoming products, product upgrades, technical advisory programs, and so on.
Do you do it for other defense companies as well?
Sometimes, but only where there is no product clash. Sometimes the products can conflict.
Julia's persistence has paid off, and by asking follow-up questions and not sticking blindly to the KYC form, she's uncovered an important new piece of information, namely that Mr. Ma isn't just a business consultant. In fact, he's closely involved with the defense industry, something that has potentially far-reaching consequences.
That was an important piece of information to obtain in this particular account, because it meant that under our CDD policy, the account had to automatically be risk ranked as high risk, and enhanced due diligence and monitoring applies to it for AML purposes.
Using the same tactics of an interested, conversational approach, asking open questions that are not just limited to those on the form, and being politely persistent, Julia also succeeds in eliciting further relevant information, this time about beneficial ownership.
So, can you tell me about ownership and control of the business? How does that work?
Well, it's just me, really. I do have a kind of, well, I don't know what you would call him, an associate, I guess, Jason Chow. He's definitely not an employee, but he's not an owner either, in the sense that he doesn't own any shares in the company.
Right, and what is his role in the company then?
Again, with important results.
Well, I've known Jason for years. What's his role? Well, he's a contacts guy. He knows lots of people in defense departments in different countries. He actually put 30% of the seed capital into Ma Consulting when I started the business. But we don't have any formal shareholding arrangement in that regard.
That was an important disclosure. If you went only by the KYC form, you'd think that the question you had to ask was who owns 25% or more of the shares in your business. But actually, what you're really interested in this instance is there anybody else capable of exercising significant influence over this account and its activities? That's the real piece of information you're driving towards.